Good evening, everyone. It's Wednesday. We're going to continue our study of the book of Daniel. We're going to go back to Daniel chapter 5, verse 27 in just a little while, but we're wrapping up our series on this. We've been going for about 10 weeks now. We've got a few more weeks in June, and I want to wrap it up at the end of June. And it's been a fantastic series, and you need to remember where we've come from. It's making sure that our identity is not being stolen from this world and from this culture, that we know who we are, who we belong to, who we worship, and how does that look in our life. And we looked at all of those things. And we came into last week, we were looking at what Daniel was telling King Belshazzar. The handwriting on the wall, and God says, your days are numbered. And that's actually the message that we have today as well. Our days are numbered as well. We're not going to live forever. We're only going to be here for a short period of time. And when we understand that, and understand that our days are numbered, we will make the most of them, and that's what we're supposed to try to do in our lives. While I'm walking to my bedroom from the main part of our house, there is a bathroom scale sitting on the floor. It just kind of stares at me every single time I walk by it. And it's kind of just telling me, oh, please step on me so I can mock you. I don't like that thing, but I know it's there for a reason. And from time to time, I'll step on it and see how I'm doing on my weight. And it feels good when I lose some weight, but not so good when I've stayed the same or even gained a little bit. And but it just kind of reminds me, hey, your lifestyle and how you live is important, John. And it's something that I battle with. I've battled with it for years and years now. But I don't really want to talk about that part. But I do know that weighing ourselves, looking at ourselves, is actually talking about all the way through the Bible into the Old Testament, and Jesus talks about it into the New Testament. Again, last week, we understand that we have a limited time on this earth. And so when we weigh ourselves, when we weigh our lives and consider how we spend our life, what does the scales show? When we see one another, whether at work or on the street or just our family or friends, whatever it is, what's the question we always ask? How are you? How you doing? How are you? I was reading on that question in our society today, and a lot of times we say we're fine, we're doing okay. But you know what the number one answer is? I'm busy. Oh man, just so busy. And then we'll jump into a list of the things that we're trying to do, things that we're trying to accomplish in our life. And the number one response when we ask, how are you, to one another is, I am busy. That is dangerous. That's actually incredibly dangerous for us, and we don't realize it. We just keep adding things to our plate and what we're trying to accomplish on a daily business. But what we need to know that busy is not better, and that's what we believe. We believe busy is good. That means we're doing something, we're accomplishing something, and that's actually a really big problem that we have. Let's go back to Daniel chapter 5 verse 27. Listen to what he says. And this is Daniel talking to King Belshazzar, God giving him the words to say. But when you come to verse 27 and he's interpreting the words, he says, you have been weighed on the scales and have been found wanting. Go back last week, we talked about the term mene, which means numbered. And God actually repeats that twice to him, mene, mene. And he says, numbered are your days. There's emphasis on this. And we should shift, and it should shift us toward a more focused on heavenly perspective as we live out our days. And then we come to the second word in this, and it's tekel, which actually means weighed. In other words, not only are there only so many days, but we are responsible for how we spend our days and our time. Well, let me ask you this question. If you were weighed today, if you had to step on the scales of life, what would that scale say? What would it tell us? Um, if you were going to ask people, some of the closest people around you, of how you spend your time and what you focus on the most, how do you spend your time? What are your priorities? What if you asked your spouse? What if you asked your kids? What if you asked your friends? What would their response be back to you when they say, how is John Page spending their time? And I thought about that, and I was extremely convicted, and I hope you are too. When you take a step back and go, okay, if I step on the scales, what does it say? What does it honestly tell me about how I am spending my time? All of this can be summed up in what Job says. Job chapter 9 verse 25 says, "My days go by faster than a runner. They fly away without seeing and joy." He goes, life is going by so quickly, and they're flying by. And you know what? I don't even see it anymore. I don't have the joy that I'm supposed to have. And being out of balance, this whole concept of how I'm spending my time is not good for us. So how do we do it to ourselves? How have we gotten ourselves out of balance? And I have a couple suggestions, and you might have some as well, but this is just something that I've been thinking about. Why am I so out of balance in how I'm spending my time? The first thing is choices. Oh my goodness. There are so many choices in our society that and we have to decide about every single day. Look at shopping. Look at the choices that we have. You don't even have to go out anymore to shop. You can do everything online. And then you think about that. If you want to buy a particular item, you can go to multiple stores at multiple times, find out all these different prices. I mean, just think about shopping. Do I stay home and online shop? Do I go to the store and shop there? What about dining? Well, think about our dining choices these days. What do you want to eat? Where do you want to go? What about our entertainment? What are we going to do? It's really interesting. Just recently, we're planning our youth group excursion. And one of the big things that we've been talking about was, well, when there's downtime, when our kids are just going to be, entertained, is there enough for them to do? Because we need what? We need choices. We have all of these choices, and our culture, our society just bombards, and they say, what are you going to do? And then we bow down to these social pressures. What do you want to do? What do you want? And most of the time it's I can do this, I want this, I want this, I want this, and we find out that we're just trying to keep up with the Joneses, the people around us, and we get busier and busier and busier. What our culture tells us today is that you can have it, and you can have it now. And to me, that's just overwhelming. When we believe this and we fall into that trend of wanting it and wanting it now, we'll go without sleep. We'll go without the proper nutrition because we're not choosing properly how to take care of ourselves. We won't go with the proper rest, and that's different than sleep. Rest is just relaxation. We don't go and think about reflection like we should. Another term that the Bible uses there is meditate, from Psalms 1. Those who meditate on the word, that's reflection, meditation, thinking, learning. We just want facts right now. We don't take the time to learn as we should. Even playing, just enjoying ourselves, playing. We want to do something quick, something fun, something that makes us feel good, and then we're moving on to the next thing. Sometimes just playing is not like that. It's just enjoying life, relating to other people, even praying. We'll do very quick prayers, or we'll have something come up on our cell phone and go, oh yeah, it's a great prayer, and we keep going on our day. Slow down. Let's go ahead and pray. And then we sit back when we're not doing all these things like we should, taking life a little slower. We ask ourselves, why am I so stressed out? Why am I being overwhelmed in this world? Well, maybe that's it. Our bodies, our minds, our souls are not conditioned to run on empty, to keep doing the next thing, to go and go and go. We can't live under this type of pressure. We're not intended to. God did not design us like this. But we're pushing ourselves constantly. I'll tell you right now, personally, I crash twice a year. And what I mean by that, I just physically, emotionally, I'll crash twice a year. The first one is about August, which is coming up pretty quick. But through what I do for a living, through my ministry, and you start the year off in January, man, it's just constant, and I don't get a whole lot of breaks there. It's constantly preaching or teaching or just working with some people, and it goes until about May, and then May we kick it up a gear because we have summer events, and then we're thinking about what we need to do and what we need to get done and organized there. And the summer is also used for preparing for the next school year. I still have the same mindset of summer and school year being the differences in my year. But going through the summer, I'm not really running on a full tank. I'm running on adrenaline, and we're getting things done. So when it comes to August, why I always take vacation in August. I get away with my wife, and we just spend time together. And I love on her, I love on that relationship, and we just relax. And actually, it takes the entire month for me to get my feet back underneath me. And then we start the new school year, and everything really starts humming, really going fast. And when I hit December, mid-December, I'm done. We had to focus on a big church service for Thanksgiving, and then I'm thinking about what I need to do in the month of December and getting ready for Christmas, family, church-wise, everything. And to be really honest, but in the middle of December, I kind of crash because I'm just so overwhelmed, and I don't enjoy Christmas as much as I used to. I wish it was a little different. Life shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't be crashing and just trying to get to the next moment or trying to live on adrenaline. That's gonna hurt us in the long run. And I've realized that I need to make some better choices in my life to slow down and take a look around. And the other thing that I have a problem with is, number one, I got all these choices I need to get done. I gotta go. And the other thing is, we have a mentality, and especially in our country, is that more is better. More is better. Listen to Ecclesiastes chapter 4 and verse 6. Very smart man said this. Better one handful of tranquility than two handfuls of toil and chasing after the wind. I love that. He's saying that it's better to have less of what does not matter than more of what does. It's better to have enough so that you can enjoy it than to have more and never enjoy it at all. And it sounds like us sometimes, doesn't it? Especially in our society. Peace is better than stress. Less, what he's saying here, less is really having more. But that's not the mentality of our culture. It's not the mentality of our society. And a lot of times it's not our mentality either. I want more. We believe more is better. If we have $1, it meant if I had two, that's better. And we'll work really hard for that too. Well, I got two, I can make that four. I'm going to make that better. And what I've realized in life, more is not better. I have a nice house, but I want a bigger one. No, you really don't. I have a nice car, but I need the best. Actually, that first car really got you everywhere you need to go, but it's a mentality that we're falling into. More is not better. So the question is, what's the guiding principle that we can tip the scales back into the right direction? So it looks more of what God wants us to have. And we need to believe that our lives function better in a God-given design than a culture-driven society or what culture demands. We need to go back and say, okay, God, what do you want in my life? How do you want me to live my life? I'll be honest, most of us live, including myself, in a shotgun life. That means you pull the trigger and we got to go everywhere. And we're in 100 different places. We got to go. And God says, whoa. It's not like that. We're like a single bullet. We need to be focused on what God wants and only focused on in the places that he wants us to go. Without God, we're just chasing after all of these things. And in the end, we realize we want more. That means we're not being fulfilled. And we're really not being fulfilled because it's not a spiritual thing we're following. It's a physical or emotional. And we need to get away from that. Listen to Proverbs chapter 17, verse 24. Listen to this. He goes, an intelligent person aims at wise action, but a fool starts off in many directions. I remember a very wise man once said, if you're burning the candle at both ends, you're not burning as bright as you think you are. Meaning we can work as hard as we want. We think we're getting so much accomplished, but in the end, we're really not. A person has wise action, a single action, where a fool goes in many directions. And that's our problem. We're thinking about the more that we can have, and we're trying to chase all of the choices that we have, and it's just not working. So I want to make this practical. I want to put a couple things into your hands, that everything that we're studying in the book of Daniel, I'm really going to work on practical ways of coming into that relationship with God for the last couple weeks that we're going to be together. And I want to start with Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 1. And this is what the Hebrew writer will say. He says, "Let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles." Let's get rid of those things. There's a burden that we're constantly putting on ourselves, and there's no way that we can get through life. I'm going to use an example like this. If I had my truck's a little bit big, but I can go up the hill. The truck is able to go up the hill, right? And it costs me so much energy, so much fuel. But if I load down my truck with a very heavy load, it's going to cost me a whole lot more fuel to get that truck up the hill. We're going to have burdens. We're going to have difficulties in our life. We're going to have to deal with life, but we're taking on so much more. And those burdens are holding us back. And what the Hebrew writer says, we need to get rid of those things so that we can go through life with the right purpose and with the right focus. And a lot of times, the more burdens I put on myself, guess which way I'm looking? I'm looking down. I'm not looking up. I'm not looking for God. I'm not seeing his blessings around me. I'm just focused on my burden. And so we need to get rid of those things, and so that we can alleviate our stress, our problems, our burdens, place those on God, and we can get through life. So he says at the very end of that verse, "So let us run with perseverance the race that is marked out for us." And God says, I'm going to show you the way you need to go. I'm going to show you the way you need to run in this life. I'm going to map it for you. All I want you to do is put your faith, your trust in me, and I'm going to take care of you. But what do we first need to do? Let our burdens down. Instead of looking down, look up and find God and follow God. Now, everyone's pace, everyone who's listening to this video and seeing this video, it's going to be varied for you. There's no way I can make just a perfect cookie cutter, here's what you do. But I want you to take some of the things we're going to talk about, apply them to your life, and figure out how this can work for you to become a better relationship with God. So there's three things, and then the lesson will be yours. First one is this. I want you to take regular inventory. Stores do this all the time. Walmart, Target, it doesn't even matter what store. Every store does this. And they take inventory for what they have. They want to make sure they know what's on the shelves and what they're lacking in. They also use that inventory time to look at the space that's allotted in each department and say, hey, how are we going to use this space properly? And that's exactly what we need to do. We need to take inventory of what's going on in our lives. It's so easy for us to fall into the tide of culture with its trends, with its temptations that we go through, the trials that we have, and the difficulties in our life. It's so easy to fall into that tide and just sweep us away. And we, at the time, we think these things are super urgent. But in the long run, what has really happened is it's taken us farther away from our true purpose and what we're supposed to accomplish in our life with God. And we've gone a totally different direction. So I would tell you this, you need to take inventory of your life. You need to think about your life. And it's not on a January 1st basis. It's not on a monthly basis. It's not even on a quarterly basis. I would tell you, and this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a regular inventory of my life on a weekly basis. The day that I've chosen is Monday. Monday is the day for me when I come into the office. I'm exhausted from Sunday, so I don't have a high energy level. So I usually come in, I plan my week, I kind of tidy up the office from last week, and I just kind of take some time and read. I don't study. It's just an easier day for me, and I realized that's the perfect day for me to take some time within that moment at the office, where I'm going to take inventory of my life and see what I'm choosing, see what I've been doing last week. We need to do this on a regular time period, not once in a while, because it helps us to keep our focus. Listen to Psalms 39, verse 4 and 5. It says, Lord, remind me how brief my time on earth will be. Remind me that my days are numbered, how fleeting my life is. You have made my life no longer than the width of my hand. My entire lifetime is just a moment to you. At best, each of us is but a breath. I want to recognize, and we need to recognize a limited amount of time we have, and I want to make the most of it. So I'm going to make an honest evaluation. So what things am I going to evaluate? Well, here's my list right now. I'm going to evaluate my faith, my relationship with God. I'm going to evaluate my marriage on a weekly basis. Probably for some of us, even daily. We're going to be working on that, which is very good. I'm going to also take evaluation of my family. Family and wife is totally different, okay? Or marriage. Some of you are going to have husbands, but that's totally different, okay? Some family, you might not be married, and so family for you might be extended, but you need to take evaluation of your family. I take evaluation of my kids and my family as a whole. I'm going to evaluate my job and my workplace. That's extremely important for me. Social. If you don't know me, I'm a social guy. I like to be social. I like to be hanging out with my friends. I'm going to take an inventory on that. I'm going to look at my friends and say, do I need to be with you or not with you? I don't mind being friends with people. I'm a friendly person, but there's going to be some people I'm going to want to spend more time with. And I want those people to be very special in my life and also very positive in my life. And so I'm going to take some inventory on that. Attitude. What's my attitude like? We choose attitude. We choose how we're going to be, and I'm going to look at my attitude personally. Finances. I want to make sure I take care of my family. Last Sunday we talked about protecting our family. That also includes financially. We're supposed to take care of our family. I want to provide for my family. I want to make sure I'm doing that right and how I'm using my money. So I'm going to take care of my family. I'm also going to make sure I'm giving to God the way that I should. God deserves so much more. We think it's only tithing. I think it's bigger than that. I think we should be giving to God more, as much as we can, financially and also time wise. But that's another lesson. Creativity. I made that creativity because there's times when I like to be creative. I'm a beginning woodworker, and so I'm going to spend time woodworking, and that's good. But I'm going to take inventory of that. I'm going to make sure I'm spending not too much time on my hobbies. Creativity also falls in the realm of, for me, I like to play video games. I play with my brothers, oldest brother and the third one. We play. One's in Canada, one's in California. It's a way that we communicate and have fun with one another and talk to one another. That's great. But gotta make sure I'm taking inventory on that. And am I spending my time properly? But I want to build those relationships. They're not negative things, but I need to look at it. Physical. I need to take care of myself physically. Been looking at that a lot these days. And travel. I love to travel. My wife and I love to travel. So we're going to travel. But let's take inventory of that. Let's make sure what we're doing. Look at your life. You can break it up into 10 categories, 12 categories, but see what you're doing in your life. Break them up. Make your own categories and evaluate every week. For you, it might be of the Sabbath. It might be on Sunday that you take some time. It is a day dedicated to God. Maybe that's the day you step out in the middle of the afternoon. You find a couple hours to yourself. In the evening, you find some hours. Wake up early before your family. I know a lot of guys who do that, men and women, Christians who get up and just say, I'm going to dedicate my time in the morning. That might be a great idea. Secondly, once you evaluate this, you're going to have to make a lot of tough decisions. And what that means, you're going to have to eliminate. Elimination is the word. That's the key word to this. We need to restore balance in our life, and we're going to have to eliminate the non-essentials. Something is going to have to go because we're so busy. Something needs to leave our life so that we can slow down and make sure the things and decisions we make will make it and last. If this is something I've learned, I love this. Okay, so listen to it. If we learn to say no, we will trade popularity for respect. I like that. We want to be popular. We want everyone to like us. So therefore, we're going to try to do everything we can to make everybody happy. Stop. You'll never make everybody happy. Let's make sure that we have a proper relationship with God, that the people around us, most of all, aka our family, has that relationship with God. And it's not about making popular decisions. There are people out there that say, hey, no, I can't do that because I'm dedicated somewhere else. And you'll get respect for that. And I love that. Psalms 90 verse 12 says, teach us to number our days and recognize how few they are. Help us to spend them as we should. There's going to be times we're going to have to say no. There's going to be things that we're going to have to 100% give up. And so that you can dedicate it in other areas. Unless we set boundaries and say no to the non-essential things of our life, we will never be able to make our highest and best contributions to the things that matter the most. There's no way you can do everything. And so we need to get rid of those things. That's going to be tough to do. Best thing I can tell you to help you accomplish that is get somebody on the outside who loves you and who will talk to you and really give you an honest opinion and say, hey, that needs to go, that needs to go, that needs to go. And we need to focus here. So accountability plays a huge point. So let's just cover where we're coming from, and we're going to finish this out. I want you to take inventory of your life, create some categories that you're going to look at very deeply. You're going to meditate on those things. You're going to think about those things. After you make those categories, you're going to have to realize that some tough decisions are going to have to be made. And what are you going to eliminate? So the question at the very end here, what we're going to talk about is, how do I know what to eliminate? How do I know what to hold on to? Here it is. Focus on things that will last. Focused on things that will last. An older gentleman once told me, John, when you need to make a decision, the decision comes really easy, because how he makes a decision is, what will matter 100 years from now? And I'm thinking, 100 years from now. And he goes, I want the decisions I make, I want them to last, and they'll have a lasting effect. So what's going to last? And it's a great way of looking. I have a painting. You can see it just right here, but that whole painting is my, I guess it's what my thought process of why I do ministry. And it's, it doesn't matter about the things that I have, but if I made an impact on a child, then I've served my purpose. See, the things that I focus on is, how am I going to impact maybe the next generation? How am I going to take care of the next generation spiritually? And so the decisions I make, that filters into those decisions. So what I've discovered, that when you start thinking, okay, what's going to make an impact, what's going to last, very few things now fit into that category. The things that I thought, oh, that's so important, really don't become important anymore. Okay, so in fact, those that do fit into those categories of what's going to last for years, what's going to make the biggest impact, everything that relies and points towards God and points towards other people. Wow, is that not the first and greatest commandment? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. And when you really look at your inventory and you start making decisions, what's going to last, what's important, what's going to help the next generation? Wow, God and helping and serving others. And you're going to find those things. It's not about me. So many times, including myself, I say with my mouth that I honor God, but let's take a step back and look at our time and our money, our affections. What are they pointing to? And what I have found in my life, especially when I've been taking inventory just of late, they're pointing to other things. There's a very highly successful man that Jesus talks about in the New Testament. He's a man that has so much, and he builds barns, and then he builds bigger barns because he has so much. I want you to listen to what Jesus says about him. It comes from Luke, the 12th chapter. He says, "But God said to him, 'You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then you will get what you have prepared. This is how it will be for whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich toward God.'" Luke chapter 12, verse 20 and 21, and Jesus kind of ends this story. He goes, he lived for himself. Yeah, he had an abundance of things, and go. He goes, what is it? What do you have? And when you die tonight, what's the point of all these things? It kind of helps me realize what Paul says when we're talking about all of these things. Listen to Paul's word. It comes from the book of Ephesians. He said, but whatever were gains to me, I now count loss for the sake of Christ. What is more, I consider everything a loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Christ Jesus, my Lord, for whose sake I have lost all things. I consider them, listen to this part, garbage, that I might gain Christ. See, Paul gets it. He's taking inventory and he goes, everything else in this life that we think is so important and so urgent and that we just have to have, I count them loss. It's trash. It's garbage. Because I found Jesus Christ, my Lord. I'm going to serve him. And that's the attitude that I have. And when I'm thinking about my time on this earth and how much time I have and how important it is to spend that time, I realize I got to be focused on God and focused on Jesus Christ and serving him. It really comes down to this. Our treasure is in heaven. So everything that we do, everything we choose should be about getting ready for heaven. And not only that, for me as well, it's getting to heaven to spend eternity with God, but helping as many people get there as well, especially my family. And then after that, as many people I come in contact with, I want them to come into that relationship with God. I want to end with this thought. God's plan for us is to be a light in an extremely dark world. That's God's plan. The problem is this. We have the same issues. And we're doing the same things. So how are we making an impact? See, we can't make an impact. We can't make a difference in this world when we look like the world. And you may say, whoa, John, I'm different from the world. I know Jesus Christ. I'm saved. Praise God. Are you that different? Are you? See, there's good people in this world. They take care of others. They lift each other up. They don't do wrong to their fellow man. They don't know Jesus Christ. Do we really look different? Let me use this example. Just recently, a big storm came through Bowie. Possibly a small tornado, but there's a lot of damage. Over the last few weeks, and even to this day, there have been groups coming in and helping the city clean up. And some people, I saw their T-shirts, and I read their T-shirts, and they were faith-based people, and I thought, wow, that's incredible. There's other groups, T-shirts and companies or and such, that were not faith-based, but they said they had the same attitude as those who were faith-based. Hey, we're here to help you. We're going to take care of you. Tremendous tragedies have happened, and we're going to be here to take care of you. We're going to help you clean up and rebuild. So what was the difference? They're both doing exactly the same thing. They both have the same attitude. If you took their T-shirts off, what's the difference? What's the difference? Well, there isn't, is there? See, we go through life, we think we're Christians because we carry the name Christian. We might put on the T-shirt once in a while and go to church, right? But we act just like the world. We're chasing so many things. And so when a person looks at us and we're not making an impact because we look just like them. We're so caught up in our culture and what we're chasing and what we want and what we think we need. And when we should be taking a step back and saying the choices that I make are based on God. We're supposed to be different. We're supposed to be shining as lights. But to be really honest, I haven't really shone like a light because I look like the world. And Jesus talks about these things in the New Testament. Who's going to give their child a serpent and not bread? If your son needs you, your kid needs something, even the world does that. They're going to give them what they need. But there's a difference. We're supposed to have our focus on God, living for God. But to be honest, we say we are, and we're good people. We do the right thing, but a lot of the time, we look like the world. We need to take inventory. We need to eliminate those things that make us look like the world, and we look more like Christ because we're focused on what God wants us to do. I want you to think about some of those things. Our days are numbered, so let's make sure the choices that we are making are what they're supposed to be. When we are weighed, is our life in balance with God, or are we overweight with our wants and our needs and our things that we're chasing? Think about those things. It's a tough lesson, really tough for me, especially eliminating some stuff out of my life. So I know it's not easy. I love you. Thinking about you. Be praying for you for the rest of the week. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday. I look forward to finishing up this series with you in the next couple weeks. Take care. God bless.